Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Hazmat Guys Nation Roundtable. How's everybody out there doing today?
Hello.
Hello, we
How are
have.
you, Mr. Monaco?
I'm doing fantastic, Mr. Koch. Where are you? You're in I'm so used to color and pictures, and you're in like the blank canvas of life.
Yeah, it's different. It's killing me not to have my Yankee pictures up on the wall.
I see
And
that. There's nothing on those walls. That is
we're
rare.
we are we are in a transitional phase, let's call it.
All right.
We sold our house, and while our new place is being built, hopefully within 2 or 3 months, probably 3 to 4 months, we are renting. Luckily, the brothers in the fire department, everybody's got a part-time job, and one of my boys hooked me up with one of his rentals, and so here we are for the summer. Summer
Very
vacation.
nice. This episode brought to you by Extra Space Storage. All of your storage needs.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, but
Good times.
we got a not a crazy week. I'm sure Bob will want to talk about it when he comes on. But he's doing this crazy decon class. He says the science is awesome, and hopefully he'll have a lot to share with us next week on that. Anything go on for you this week?
Yeah, we had an interesting run the other day that I think I just mentioned it real quick, but I don't know how many people have the chance to work with their local propane companies or natural gas companies or what have you. But we had our regular fire department training drills that day, and then the evening. This was last week. We were in a show. Some of you that might have been watching, I had a bolt in the middle of the show. We had a leaking rail car, and it was leaking propane. It was kind of a weird call because the street that the rail car was on, the north side of it's in the county. For those of you who don't know, I refer to the city of Orlando, which is in Orange County proper, if you will. And the guy was overcome with vapors from the propane tanker. And he walked across the street, called 911, went to the county. The unit that showed up from the county just so happened to be their hazmat company, who also does first aid. Hello, Philip. There's Philip Ambrose.
What's happening, Kosh? Hey, Mike. Sorry, Mike.
And so we were just catching up, Phil, from a call I had in the middle of the show last week, where we had a propane call. So the guy was overcome from the rail car and walked across the street, called 911. The county showed up, and their hazmat team, who also does EMS, showed up, and they took care of him. Because the rail car was in the city, they called us. It actually took longer to lay the hose for the protection lines than it took to secure the leak, believe it or not. But it was really simple. Once we got the lines in place, we climbed on top of the rail car. We had a secondary means of egress, i.e. a 24-foot ladder to the side of the rail car. We opened up. Yeah, or just jump. We opened up the lid, and we brought up a water can extinguisher with us to melt down the ice ball that was on the liquid line. So we could kind of see where it was leaking, because at the time, obviously, it had frozen over. We couldn't see where the leak was coming from. Once we did,
when you went up there, you actually had an ice ball on one of the valves.
We had an ice ball on one of the valves, and with the holes on the side with the latches that go over, you could see some vapor starting to come down. We did air monitoring around the rail car. We had no readings. We checked it with a tick. You could see a little bit of cooling up at the top, so we could see that there was some temperature difference. We confirmed via the rail car number that the tank was, in fact, empty. And in which I'm like, well, but they checked it twice.
How did you do that?
We had a representative on scene.
Okay.
Who called and confirmed via the GTX number that we used that it was, in fact, a empty car. They just emptied it that day. And apparently what happens and those of you that don't know rail cars, when these cars back into each other, they do it forcefully to latch on. and the couplings almost look like this, where they latch on, and that liquid that's in there splashes up and down. And what they think happened is, with that splash, it caused something in the valves to get stuck. So when they offloaded the product, there was still something there, and they couldn't close the valve all the way. That's what they think happened. So when we went on top of the car, we were at, just like anything else, check it to see if you can tighten it anything further, try before you pry kind of thing, like we do in the fire department, and couldn't close it anymore. So I said, hey, let's open it a little bit. Like we always teach, chlorine 1 tons or 150s, whatever. Open a little bit, maybe release that little particle that might be stuck in there, let some gas flow to blow the debris out, and then shut it down. And once we did that, we stopped the leak.
You said that you had icing on the liquid valve. How did you know going up there that was the liquid valve? Was it labeled or something?
It was typically the way the rail cars are. If they're in line, those are liquid lines. If they're off center, they're vapor lines.
So you had one of the in line with the tank from front to rear that had the ball on it.
Correct. And what was Mike and I were talking earlier? What was interesting is we found plumber's tape up in the dome cover in a plastic fork. I don't know if the guy was having lunch earlier. It was doing some kind of taping or what, I don't know, but yeah, it was pretty interesting. So once the leak stopped, we sprayed everything down again with the soapy water. In our fire extinguishers, we put a little bit of foam in there, and I think we've talked about it on one of the other shows. Just like a natural gas line where you have soapy water in a bottle and you're checking for leaks. We did the same thing with the 2.5 gallon water extinguisher, and we were able to actually find 3 additional leaks that were coming from the bolts that fasten the whole assembly to the rail car. So we tried to tighten them. Obviously can't. And we went back yesterday, which was our next shift for me. And they actually took that rail car out of service to get worked on because it needed some maintenance to it.
Wow.
Nice.
So leaking is not normally typical in these rail cars at all, right? Like, it's not like they say, all right, there's an acceptable amount of leaking that could come from something. There should be nothing on anything.
Yeah, there's one little assembly. It's about 2-3 inches tall, where it's designed to let some of the vapor out for the odorant. And we got a real good education from the guy yesterday. We climbed on top of another rail car, and he explained to my guys in detail the different procedures they go through. And the one thing that was spouting off or spewing off, or however you want to say it, a little bit of vapor, is it's designed to. It's not a relief valve. It's strictly to let you know that it's odorized or not. And that had a little bit coming out of it. And again, they think because of the way that they slam the cars together and the initial sloshing of the liquid product before they offloaded got into that little piece and allowed it to just burp, if you will, for a second or two. But that had nothing to do with the other leaks that we were dealing with. Yeah, it was kind of interesting.
That sounds like fun. And I saw that the pics. What time? It was about this time at night that it went down.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, so it was pretty neat. The guys had some of the guys had never been on a rail car before, definitely in a training or in a real scenario. So after it was over, we turned it into a quick little class, and there you go. So, but what was great is when we went back yesterday, the guy said, because it's a propane company, whatever we want to do. If we want to go and freeze down tanks and practice change relief valves or whatever, I mean, I cannot stress enough to get with your first new companies or organizations and set up training, because these guys are all about it, and it's free, and they are the experts.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love the rail companies. The rail companies, they give, we have Paratech out by us for our propane. They came in one day, they blew through a whole tank of propane doing training with us and things like that. Just the whole industry is perfect.
Yeah. Somebody asked to determine if it was empty or full. I think we mentioned that, but yeah, we called a guy. There was a guy on site, gave him the GTX number off the side of the rail car. He confirmed it twice. that the the rail car was empty. But here's another thing: make sure anybody that uses that rail line, because the rail line could be used from multiple different agencies, whether it's Amtrak or what have you, make sure it's shut down. Because we heard a train coming, and fortunately for us, they were rerouting it down an adjacent line a couple blocks away. But all of a sudden, we're on.
How do you do that? How do you make sure, like, who's going to take responsibility for that, and who's going to be? How are you reaching out to do that?
What we did was we went through our dispatch, who had the numbers for in our area. Hello, Robert. Who went through Amtrak? Who went through? See, I just lost my whole train of thought there. Who went through Amtrak? Who went through CSX? Who went through in our area Florida Rail, and contacted all of them and told them, if you use this line, it's out of service until further notice.
Yeah, we do similar, but then there's in one spot there. I mean, sure, you got way more, but double tracks, and they will still put out a lookout. We'll send a PD unit or somebody, because even after all the notifications were made, and then whoever was driving the train too, they seem to have the best communication. But that's an uncomfortable feeling when you hear them coming when they're supposed to be turned off. And we had a pretty significant derailment years ago, and nobody's forgotten what mess that made. So
right. So it's a little bit of fun.
Is that Larry King?
Yeah, it's Larry King.
Jack Jofo, go with it. They're uncomfortable. They're so tight. Oh my god. How are you guys doing? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm late to the party. I have my own library, indeed. And if you look in the back, there's a little baby, and there's one here. I like to collect them.
And a lady.
I like to collect them. Then ladies.
He hunts them and stuffs them, and he's his own taxidermy.
There's a little, look at the little kid. He done. All right. Anyway.
That's awesome.
I did hear that Mike was talking about my new Decon class, and I'm
excited that you are able to pop on to talk about this. If it's not classified,
yeah,
there's different tiers to that, isn't there?
There's a big stigma of it being some information being classified, and I'm throwing the yellow flag, the yellow card at that one. I'm taking a week-long class on a new decontamination technique that I'm rather intrigued in, because I more stick with it. Let me ask you guys: do you guys do decontamination the way the New York City Fire Department does, with a basically a truck brush, and we wash them like they're a car, essentially, right? The pool, the hose, the soap, and the whole thing.
Dry or wet decon?
Yes.
What if it's a powder?
Let's say it's a powder. What is your move? And I'm not comparing to this class. I'm saying the old school way that we did it. What did you do? What do you do for a powder?
Well, we get so used to copious amounts of water and all that, but we got kind of schooled on it today, because we're going through our team typing certification, and it was one of the items we had to find in storage was the very, very soft, almost like a makeup brush to brush off the fine stuff before you would add water, and that's why I bring it up. But I got to say, we always default to copious amounts of water, but brushing it off before you have to then strip, flip, and deluge.
Well, I'll skip Mike because I know his answer, because it's the same as my answer. Bob, what is your answer with dry? Asbestos, fentanyl, the household heroin that you deal with in those boxes behind you. What
Well, obviously, just removing the PPE is going to remove 80%, up to 80% of the contaminant.
You find it going? I when I think about me taking off my gear and this stuff being talcum-like, if I take this off, it's
right, and that's why your mask is the last thing that comes off.
I love it. So
respiratory.
that is our MO, as well as taking off. And this is something that me and Mike have had a lot of discussions with, where we go, I'm telling you, you know what? I'm not even going to tell you. How about this? Your regular training goes like this. Guys, come on into the decon corridor. We're going to wash. We're going to soap. We're going to wash you. And then you're going to get in your gear. And when you spin your ass around into the cold zone, drill's over. Am I wrong?
No.
Right? It's pretty much over. Well, what happens with the gray? What happens with the guys that are deconning have to be deconned? Where does it end? Like, me and Mike have had discussions on this, and like, it could theoretically never ever end.
Right.
We were driving up. Where were we driving? We were driving up to the New York State one.
New York State.
And we go, there's never been a class about what happens to all the crap that's behind the entry team after they get out of their suit. Like I've never taken a class on what the hell happens to the scene afterwards.
Right. It says you can you have to get decon by the guy a level below you or at the same level. Okay, so let's say it's the same level, and it goes on and on forever. It's like it never stops. So let's say it's wet. Let's say it's chemical, WMD. You name it, call it out. What are you? Anything changing? Is like, seriously, is your operation changing?
No, and the very last guy is probably going to be the guy, or I should say, the last two guys are going to be the ones that pump off whatever we have left into a drum.
A drum.
It's going to be then labeled hazardous waste. Any of the equipment is going to be put in an overpack labeled as hazardous waste for follow-up decon. And then those guys are going to self-decon, and that's it.
Right. And Jerry Jacquez. I'm going to say Jacquez because it sounds more exotic. Jacquez.
Or Jaquez.
Jaquez. Was that Jake?
Jaquez.
Maybe Jerry J? Jerry Jay-Z. Oh, Jay-Z.
G-Rod Jaquez.
G-Rod Jaquez. All right, so G-Rod Jaquez says a electrostatic
there you go, Hawk Easy.
Hawk Easy. All right, I'll deal with that. You know what? That you can't name yourself.
That is a rule.
I'm gonna call you now. I'm gonna get something silly. We gotta think about that. But anyway, electrostatic. That's one of the things I think about is that things are electrostatically attracted, especially dusts. And so if I have a electronegative dust and I have a suit that's electric positive, it locks together like a magnet. But if I can make my suit negative, just in the skin, I can repel everything. I'll walk through bulletproof. So we've been talking about this, and I'm not going to give the name of the company. I'm not going to give anything about their MO because they've been very leery about talking to us, and I'm not going to. It's nothing against them. It's that if you show any interest, I will help you, or help me, help you, help them. But I am more of the less is more, and if I can dry you off and take 80% of it off before I even have to do anything, then do it.
Right.
And these guys have a pretty good shtick, and they got some pretty good products. And I don't disagree with anything I said. I do disagree with how long it's taking to do. This is a 5-day class, and I will say it could probably be done in about 8 hours. However,
5 days of decon?
Yeah. Did I say that right? Wait, hold on. I said 5, carry the 1. Yeah, 5 days. 5 days, 40 hours of class. And but I think
is that with patient?
What?
Does that cover patient decon and stuff like that?
It is. It's a lot. It's a better class of decontamination than I've ever taken. More intense, more robust, more in depth than anything I've ever seen. I will not fault them on this, but I think their 40-hour class was given to them with direct order. You will give a 40-hour class, and they've expanded their class to accommodate the request. I think that's what it is. However, I'm going in for tomorrow's the last class, and I'm going to talk with them one more time. Doesn't Mike's class? Did you ever see the Never Ending Story?
Yes.
From 1988. Doesn't Mike's camera look like Falco, the dog that flies? Oh my God, is that so funny? I had to take a picture of
It's
that.
awesome.
Oh my God. Oh, like the Rock Eater. It's whatever. Anyway, I'm a kid of the 80s.
It looks like he has a Christmas tree up.
He does. He probably does. It's probably
Oh, no shit. Yeah, he does.
Jerry Jay-Z. I'm gonna call you now. I'm calling you Jerry Jay-Z. That's what I'm calling you.
We can't call him Jay-Z. There's only one Jay-Z.
All right, you know what? You're right. All right, so
Phil's having a seizure over there. Oh, the lights came back on.
No, we turn our sun off to save power in California.
So anyway, we went through fentanyl, and we're having a lot of new fentanyl stuff that's coming through. At least mine.
Wow.
We've been getting a lot of stuff about fentanyl, and recently, if you haven't seen it on the Hazmat guys Twitter, we have an Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can catch it on anything, but we got something recently, and I thought this is very interesting. I put it out there that there was a urine test strip for fentanyl. And what I initially thought was, who gives a shit? It's urine. I'm not dealing with downstream stuff. But it tests for fentanyl down to 10 nanograms per milliliter of fentanyl hydrochloride. And one of our good friends, Todd Burton, emailed them and said, is this true? He basically says, I see you have a urine test strip that reads fentanyl down to 10 nanograms per milliliter. Will the test strips work with fentanyl hydrochloride and the solubility appears to be lower than fentanyl hydrochloride? Please let me know. And they wrote back, and it seems to be a Chinese country because the guy's name is Xing Quan Si. And he says the test strip is very sensitive to picking up fentanyl. Therefore, even though the solubility is low, the concentration of the dissolved fentanyl hydrochloride should still be picked up by the test. In addition, we also add a test kit that comes with a buffer solution with an added organic solvent to increase the solubility of the substance that's being tested. So it's pretty interesting that we have a test strip. Essentially, I'm thinking, why does it have to be a urine strip? And I have to do a little testing on this, but if we can use this down to 10 nanograms, that's a game changer. Because if I wet it listen, I use the right buffer. Fentanyl is not a polar solid. It has to go into an alcohol or something like that. It has to go into something else other than water. It's not very you went to school with him, Mike. Yeah, I'm sure you did. Back in Boston, you're having apples with that. But it's interesting stuff. I think there's a lot of stuff out there that we can use to do this. Like I just learned in this class, and I didn't know this, is that bleach. We always think that bleach is a killer for fentanyl. An organic bleach. An organic bleach is a killer for fentanyl. That's what everybody says. Wait a second. 2 + 3. Wait a second. How can you have an organic bleach? Bleach is HCl. How the hell can you have organic bleaches? Well, you can, and it's not a true bleach. You're talking about an oxide, right? So there's this thing that they use, and I'll put it out there. It's oh shit. Do I have it up there? It's called Brew Tabs. UTABS, Brew Tab 60. I'm gonna find it for you.
That's literally what a home brewer would use to clean their stuff. Am I thinking of the right brew tabs?
No, it's not Brew Tabs as an EW. I'm gonna give me 1 second. I'm gonna find it for you. But God. Anyway, I'm going to find it for you. I'll put it in the notes in 2 seconds. But what it really is that it's a organic peroxide that it nukes fentanyl in about 2 minutes, and It's a plop, flop, fizz, fizz type effervescent type chemical. So you can add this to your Palmolive to get the surfactant and the killer, and it works.
And it just cleaves the fentanyl right in half, right?
It kills it.
So let me ask you a question. Getting back to the testing part of all this.
Go.
So everybody's got their powder protocols. Are they doing the same powder protocols for the unknown powder? And if so, have they taken whatever fentanyl powders or pills or whatever they've gotten from the law enforcement to crunch up, bash up, whatever, to put on Hazmat ID, 360, whatever, to put in their library?
Let me ask you this:
I would venture
does it?
this.
There's about a million different fentanyls. There's afentanyl,
Oh,
methfentanyl,
absolutely.
there's parafentanyl, there's fentanyl, there's a
There's a
parafentanyl,
gazillion.
whatever, and each one's worse than the next.
But even if you had all the fentanyls in your library, by the time it gets on the street, it's got so much other crap
Right.
that it's been mixed with. It's just like how these weapons, these things aren't picking up all the homemade sarins and things like that. Like the weapons of mass destruction that people are making at home are not coming up on our hazmat meters because our hazmat meters were designed on laboratory type equipment.
Regardless of what the fentanyl is, let's pump the brakes and step back. If I come up to a white powder incident, any white powder incident, I don't know if it's anthrax, if it's botulism, if it's tempura, if it's confectionery sugar, if it's fentanyl, it's carfentanyl, it's afentanyl, it's parafentanyl, I don't care. What's the difference in our operation? There's really no difference. If we go in with a suit, whatever our selection of suit, and I have mine, I know the DEA, the state police, whatever state you're from, has their own, and I will tell you they're probably erring on the cautious side and going to the level A. And I'm going to say this. I disagree with you wholeheartedly.
Me too.
Because mostly the problem we're going to have is a decontamination problem on the straps of the SCBA. So if you were to take your SCBA and put it on the inside, let's say encapsulated B, then I think you're good. But wait a second, Bobby. Wait a second. You can't have this go through your skin. If you look at any of the studies, and I'm talking about, I've looked at many of the studies, they're all 6 to 8 hours of transdermal to get a good dose.
Yep.
So, dude, if you're on a team that takes 6 to 8 hours to decon you best get on a team.
Well, that's probably why the cops are in so much trouble all the time.
Yeah, it's that classic thing of the misconception that level A is the safest. Level A is for vapors and all. It doesn't mean it's the safest. Just like we always talk about with turnouts. But I agree on the decon side, because you're talking about a powder, and even if aerosolized, you're talking about respiratory and protect your skin, which I like the encapsulated B. I like keeping those straps in. But I would also be comfortable being on a PAPR.
There's no oxygen deficiency. The PAPR handles, especially the top of the line. What the hell is it? 1A? What the hell is? How do they get marked again?
Cap 1.
Cap 1. That's it. That's a Cap 1. Cap 1 handles all that crap. But the thing is that if I go into these things and I come out and I'm going to get pulled out, do I care about my knees? Do I care about the back? Do I care about the back? I care about my zip ring port. I care about where I'm getting pulled out of. All the rest of the crap, leave all the crap on the suit. I don't care about the suit. I care about me. So like and I don't want to go too far into it because I know we're wrapping up in time, but I don't give a shit about what the suit is reading with my meters. it's going to be hot. I was just in the hot zone. But when I come out, if me, the person, is hot, which I look at this, I'm hot. That was hacky, and I just came out on my feet. If I come out hot, then we have a problem because I went in a baseline of 0. I went in a suit cold. I come out hot, I have a problem. So my decontamination process is wrong. So we have to work on that and clean that whole suit to do what I have to do. And I'm not going to give their methodology right because first off, they weren't very forthcoming, and I'm not going to give them props for doing something that I'm not doing their advertising for them. But I agree with this stuff. I don't disagree with it. But I think I'm dancing on the topic efficiently.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
I think it would be safe to say that just like when, I think to equate it, you know how when teams started out, you talk to old timers and they're like, yeah, everything was a level A entry, right? We did 20, 30 a week. Everything
we
was
did
level A.
We did anthrax calls in level A.
Yeah.
And then as we start to understand chemical physical properties, we've gotten away from the level A, and we've gone to something that's easier to work with, less cumbersome. We've kind of dropped to and I have a feeling that as the next 5 to 10 years progresses forward, we're going to see that happen in the decon world. That we're going to turn around, we're going to take a look at what we've been doing with decon and saying, really, is this really necessary? Do I have to do all of this? Do I have to create all this waste, all this manpower, all this stuff? Can I just do this instead? And I think 5 to 10 years from now, we'll look back at all the decon systems we have, and they will be very antiquated.
I'm just going to point out one thing that Dominic says, and he says in Quebec they use 1 suit per entry, and Dominic also says 1 cop per use per suit per entry. I don't disagree with it at all. I mean, listen, I don't know where you're from, and again, it's very easy for me to say this from the FDNY. We have so many suits we've given out to civilians at a hazmat scene. We're ridiculous. With a parting gifts, we say, hey, listen, you had a little endurance in your eyes. Put on the hazmat gear. It's good for the Halloween. But in all reality, are you really recycling the gear? And if you are, I don't want to talk to your lawyer. Because if I go into a scene, whatever it might be, if it was that bad that I had to put on my gear at our current knowledge level, our current, like Mike was just saying, our experience and our pass down level, then am I really getting out of it? So in that case, why am I exiting out of the zipper that we entered in? I had to enter because the zipper was the only entry for me to get a vapor tight seal. But on the way out, I got scissors, I got zippers, I can open this thing up from the top of my head all the way down to my ass to my feet and step out like a gentleman without touching the corner. So why not? Why not do that?
Yep.
I'm just saying this is going to take. I think decontamination level 2 is going to take an enormous mind shift on the hazmat community, and I will say I am 100% behind it because I think the way we do it currently is antiquated. I don't think we're cars. We're not cars. We don't get washed like cars, and we shouldn't be treated like cars. We braid the suits. We fuck the suits up, and I'm sorry I'm cursing, but I think it's wrong, and the way we can do it is done right, and I don't think it's the way we're doing it right now.
I agree.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Can I get an amen?
Mic drop.
I get a mic drop.
I don't want to go anywhere.
It's awesome.
Anywho.
Oh, all right. Well, that pretty much wraps up this episode. Unless anybody has anything else that they want to add, I think we'll try to keep it to the half-hour mark. Bill, you got anything?
Just
brewing?
closing comments about Baltimore, but I think we're probably all going to say that.
Ooh, Baltimore. What's Baltimore?
I think it's next week.
Is it next week already?
Yeah.
Anything
I don't even.
Anybody available to work Saturday?
And then it's Father's Day.
Yes. So will everybody be at Baltimore? I know me and Bob will, at least for
I
a
am.
good chunk of
I
it.
am planning on it. I know Jason's going to be there. We're trying to get Ryan Henry there.
I
And
unfortunately will not, and I will miss each and every one of you deeply.
Is that because you're stuck in your big white box?
That's because I have all this.
Are you in a pod?
Yeah, they put me in a pod. I'm not allowed to leave.
Oh
Break
man,
in case of emergency.
it only gets better.
Guys,
But-
if you're going down there, reach out to us. We I don't know exactly what the game plan is, but we will try to.
I do. I'll give you the details.
Okay, go.
We're having a party. We're actually going to host part of it and give a lot of free beer, so that should get everybody's attention. We will start blasting it out, but it'll be the Hazmat Nation, Hazmat Guys, Hazmat Nation Roundtable back at Peter's Poorhouse in Baltimore. That'll be Friday at 7 till close. Get there early if you want some free booze, as well as I know Kevin Ryan, there's you guys, everybody's teaching some sort of class, and then there's a lot of just really good stuff as always. So yeah, 7 p.m. Friday night at the same place we were at last year, the Peters Poorhouse, and we will
That's
blast.
a great place.
We'll blast the heck out of it.
Yeah.
We will make everybody who walks in as uncomfortable as possible.
Yeah, like the poor Glendale, Arizona guys last year.
Come early before we get drunk, and we won't make you feel uncomfortable.
Kind of bad for that. So yeah.
All right, fantastic.
That's it.
Reach out to us. We'll throw you whatever kind of plans we got, and let's just do a quick. Yep.
Well, you know what? Yeah, we got the new show that just rolled out. That's Ask the Hazmat Guys. If you haven't heard about it, you haven't seen it, go to iTunes and pick out Ask the Hazmat Guys. And if you don't know about it, we're gonna for right now we're taking questions. This is a show where you can ask your question and we answer it. And if we don't know the answer, we reach out to the real experts. And we have a pretty impressive Rolodex of actual experts. So send us your question, and we will send it into the real people. And in fact, this week that's coming out, we had to reach out to one of our DOT experts, and they gave us the answer back. So send us an email at ask@thehazmatguys.com, and listen to us on Ask the Hazmat Guys on iTunes. That's it.
Sweet.
There you go.
All right, Kosh, where can we find you now that you're trapped?
now that I'm in a box, until I can beat my way out of the box, hzmtlt@gmail.com or on Twitter.
Fantastic. Phil,
Nice.
where can we get hold of you?
Hazmat Nation, and got to thank a lot of the recent contributors. We've got some really good stuff out there. Hazmat Nation, and of course, find us somewhere at the Hazmat booth 321, which will be next to the booth giving out beer at Baltimore.
Can't beat that.
Yeah.
All right. You can always get a hold of me at mike@thehazmatguys.com. Facebook, Twitter, reach out, ask a question. We try to get to everybody who reaches out to us. And of course, hey Bob, when will we see everybody?
Saturday?
I was setting you up for see you next Thursday, and you blew it.
See you next Thursday, fellas.